cleared of protesters as we continue to hear tear gas canisters being fired. Nick, can you still hear me? It seems as though the square is empty right now from what I'm seeing.
Harley, that's correct. The square is significantly emptier. The police have taken back up their position there. I'm afraid you can't see me because we've had to extinguish the lights in the bureau so as not to attract attention to where we're broadcasting from at this particular point. Heavy tear gas blowing into our bureau, making it very hard to breathe.
If you have to stop and put your gas mask on, just go ahead and do that.
Okay. Yes, Harla, a lot of tear gas blowing in here. I think we're being saved by the wind, though. Alex, take that. I think we're being saved by the wind here to a certain degree. The police... No, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move back into the bureau. It's too intense where I'm standing.
Go ahead and do that, and if you have to put your gas mask on, we'll try to understand you through the gas mask, because I understand, believe me, I've been in those situations. It's very unpleasant and very difficult to speak, actually, so. By the way, on the right-hand side of the screen, we're seeing the shot where Nick Payton-Walsh was standing. He's had to retreat back into the bureau there, of course, because of the tear gas, and because of the fact that we can't light that position anymore in Turkey. So position obvious there from the outside, from people who may be gathered in Taksim Square, who may be able to see that particular position that we use for broadcasting. Nick, can you hear me?
I don't know if you can now hear me where I'm standing.
Yes, go ahead.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry about the lack of lights. And the fact I'm now wearing a gas mask. We're now seeing police moving towards the bureau where we're standing. They've been firing an intense cloud of tear gas. They're down some side streets, particularly heavy clouds there. In fact, one protester, it seems, is trying to illuminate some of the advancing right police with a green laser light. I'm not quite sure what the objective behind that is, but really an empty scene now. That tear gas so intense, we had to step away from the window here. It filled the whole building. The tear gas so intense that we've seen protesters now flee down the side streets. But the problem is that doesn't sustain police control of this central square. The wind comes in, it blows the tear gas away, and we see again the protesters surge back again. I have to say right now they are not doing that. The police are trying to maintain a presence in the central square near a monument which allowed a stun grenade going off there. In the distance, the police are trying to maintain a presence at that central monument, which throughout the day has had protesters' flags launched on it and then taken down and then put back up again. Let me just let you hear the sounds of what's happening in the square right now. Silence filling. You hear the distant crack of tear gas, but it's this strange change between intense confrontation, heavy tear gassing, the occasional stun grenade, and then these moments of silence, where it seems like protesters have moved down side streets, backed off, obviously unable to breathe in conditions like that. Even if you have a gas mask, it's incredibly hard to see where you're going. You have to leave the area.
Nick,
police still firing away there.
And I was going to tell our viewers watching us around the world that some Turkish tweets on Twitter have told me essentially that Turkish television is even broadcasting this.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said, Harley. Are you saying that Turkish television is not broadcasting this?
Right,
or is broadcasting this?
I mean, I'm not there in Turkey, but maybe you can confirm this, that Turkish television is not broadcasting these scenes.
Well, I'm seeing one channel here, and they are broadcasting what appears to be direct pictures from where I am. For my gas mask, I can't be 100% sure, but there has been relentless criticism of the Turkish media in the past. But when these protests began, they did not initially show the clashes to their full extent, or even at all in some ways. You know, some channels showing nature programs instead of the clashes in the square. One of the most. I'm just so you're aware of what's happening in the central square here. Some of these armoured vehicles still moving around, tear gas still being fired, and police, it's hard to see in the dark, but police massed around that central monument, I'm going to just take my gas mask off, Harlow, in a bit to try and speak to you slightly more clearly.
That is me. I may have to go back in a second. But now the gas is clearing slightly. We're not seeing that surge back of protesters yet towards the square, partially because I think the police are still firing tear gas down the alleyways they've run away in. But throughout the day, the police have been here in relatively small numbers. They've been engaged in what seem to be almost futile clashes with protesters, where they would advance, the protesters would throw whatever they had back at them, the police would advance, and they go back and forth for a while. And we began to wonder what the purpose of that standoff had been. Tonight, as you saw earlier, they gathered the protesters en masse when we saw the police file